At the end of the Lord of the Rings series, Bilbo, Frodo, and Sam eventually go to Valinor, known commonly as the Undying Lands. Tolkien also notes this as well, in Letter 246, all while defending what Frodo has gone through on his journey. They all went at different times. Well, sure, Bilbo and Frodo went together, while Sam went after the passing of his wife Rosie. And one thing they had in common was that they had held the One Ring. But what made them go to Valinor? Today, we will be exploring what made certain characters go to the Undying Lands, especially the Hobbits. Valinor, the realm of the Valar, was located in central Aman, while the Valar moved after the end of the Spring of Arda, when the Lamps and later Almaren was destroyed by Melkor. The term means land of the gods. Off the eastern shore was Tol Eressëa, the Lonely Isle. The Valar established their domain there behind the walls of Pelori with their houses, gardens, and towers. It became more beautiful than Middle-earth, even during the Spring of Arda. After the full development of Valinor, they built a city, Valmar, in the midst of the plain beyond the mountains. There was also Azelohar, also Corolare, which was a green mound hollowed by Yavanna. There she sat on the green grass, singing a song of power, while the Valar gathered together to hear her song. Nienna watered the morn with tears while sitting and thinking in silence. They all sat silent in their thrones of council in the Ring of Doom, Mahanagsar, near the golden gates of the city, and watched Yavanna sing before them. Each of them had their own region within Valinor that they altered to their desire. This was also related to what their gifts were. For example, Yavanna in the pastures of Yavanna in the south, Orome in the woods of Orome in the northeast of the pastures, Nienna in the lonely Vala of sorrow and endurance, Mondos in the halls of Mondos, Irmo in the gardens of Lorien, Este in the middle isle in the lake of Laurelin in Lorien, Aule at the mansions of Aule the smith, and finally Manwë and Varda at the mansions of Manwë and Varda, the west of which stood the two trees of Valinor. The Valar seldom went back to Middle-earth over the mountains, but stayed in the Blessed Realm. After the destruction of Numenor, Valinor, the Undying Lands, were no longer a physical part of Arda. This meant that for a time after that, only the elves were allowed to sail there by the straight road. As mentioned, Frodo and Bilbo went to the Undying Lands together while Sam went after the passing of his wife Rosie. Frodo was wounded after destruction of the One Ring. He took this out of love and could not heal from it had he stayed in Middle-earth. He went in order to be healed from his wounds. Bilbo went as well, as he had a great affection with Gandalf, and dealt with a sense of pride and possessiveness while bearing the ring before Frodo. Sam carried the ring for one day, and that was when he started to perceive the evil of Sauron, and realized he didn't have the strength to keep it for an extended period of time. This sailing west was a special permission granted to them by the Valar. It is a common question among many fans whether Valinor signifies death, and also a common belief that sailing west meant they willingly passed. It seems to make sense, especially as you see in the Legendarium and in most wiki pages. The exact date of death was never signified. However, it does not seem to be true that Valinor equals death or heaven, as there is also the Timeless Halls, which seems to fit more with the heaven arc than Valinor. Tolkien describes Valinor as a temporary experience, an elvish paradise. which was in Eressëa, the Lonely Isle, which was removed from the physically attainable earth. Mortals like Bilbo, Frodo, and Sam, who went to Valinor, go there, but will not be able to return to Middle-earth. Thus, they will die eventually there. It is clear that the mortals do not become immortal there, despite the term Undying Lands, with the exception of Tor, which was a very special case. Tolkien mentions it briefly in Letter 154, again in 246, and Letter 325. Certain mortals, who have played some great part in elvish affairs, may pass with the elves to Elvenhome. I have said nothing about it in this book, The Lord of the Rings, but the mythical idea underlying is that for mortals, since their kind cannot be changed forever, this is strictly only a temporary reward, a healing and redress of suffering. They cannot abide forever, and though they cannot return to mortal earth, they can and will die of free will and leave the world. Frodo was sent or allowed to pass over sea to heal him, if that could be done before he died. He would have eventually to pass away. No mortal could or can abide forever on earth or within time. As for Frodo or other mortals, they could only dwell in Aman for a limited time, whether brief or long. The Valar had neither the power nor the right to confer immortality upon them. Their sojourn was a purgatory, but one of peace and healing, and they would eventually pass away and die to their own desire and of free will, to destinations of which the elves knew nothing. We learn that the mortals, like Frodo, who sail west, will die there of free will and leave the world. However, when they're there, they are unable to return to Middle-earth. The exact time period for remaining in Valinor is unknown, and the Valar don't have the power or right to confer immortality. The last sentence of the pull quote from letter number 325 implies a main purpose that they would experience a sort of purgatory, and their main purpose of going there involved peace and healing. In conclusion, the first two quotes described immortality in Valinor, while the last quote described their purposes.